Hey guys, I'm Bruce, I'm a noob, and hey, I'm outside. It's like outdoors, look. Ooh. Kind of a chilly March day in Eastern Ontario. So I'm outside because I don't have space on my bench to show all this, but I'm going to be doing a video that I've wanted to do for several months now, and it's one that's near and dear to my heart. My background, a long time ago, I was in graphic design, so colors and hues and tints and shades and all that were really part of my job. And as a modeler and one who is interested in historical accuracy, I'm always trying to replicate what I think is the most accurate historical colors. Now, a lot of folks out there don't care about that, or they will dismiss those sorts of things and call people rivet counters and whatever. I don't care. If you're not interested in historical colors, then you know what, no harm, no foul. Build your models, paint them how you like. Entirely your prerogative, but you probably can save yourself some time and not bother watching the video. For those of you that are interested in historical colors, I am going to be conducting an experiment, and specifically I want to try to figure out which commercially available model paints best match what is referred to normally as Panzer Grey. Now, for those of you that haven't read up a lot about wartime colors of German vehicles, the actual German name for the color was dunkelgrau, dark gray, and in the German color standard system it was given the number 7021. The system's called RAL, so you'll see dunkelgrau referred to as RAL 7021 a lot of the time. How am I going to figure out which paint is most accurate? Well, I'm going to do, like I said, a controlled experiment, and I've got 13 different types of paint to try, and I'll show you what those are in a second. But the most important thing is that many years ago I picked this up at an antique store, and this is actually a German medical or surgical supply box. And you can see it lists out all the things that are supposed to be in there, and it's got all the really cool stainless steel trays. Unfortunately, it didn't come with all the instruments. That would have been quite amazing. But I'll take some of these out, and you can see that the interior of the box especially is actually, excuse the noise, is actually in remarkably good shape. There's a paper liner on the bottom which I'll remove. But that is pretty much pristine RAL 7021. Like, that has never seen the elements, that has never seen a lot of UV, or not never seen, but hasn't seen a lot of UV sunlight. So there should be no real environmental effects on the paint. And even then, the wartime paint really didn't fade all that much. It did in, you know, the desert, and it was out in the sun all the time. It might lighten a bit, but the pigments were actually quite stable. So you hear the myth of, you know, oh, well, it would have faded and it was light gray or whatever color. RAL 7021 dunkelgrau is a really weird color too, because depending on the light, it actually can change a little bit in terms of the way you perceive it. So the standard modeler go-to is add blue. Yeah, it's got maybe a bit of a blue tint in it, but interestingly, in the right light, it actually almost also has a bit of a green undertone to it. So I would suggest, if you wanted to lighten it rather than going to, you know, a bright blue like you'll see some modelers do, maybe go to like a field gray or something, which is kind of a blue-green neutral color. Anyway, so the plan is that we're going to paint a bunch of swatches, and we're going to actually do comparisons of those swatches to the relatively good condition, relatively, I think, actually completely unfaded, unweathered interior of the box. So let's go on to the next bit, and I'll show you what that's going to look like. So I wanted to try a couple things. Because the top coat color may change somewhat depending on what's underneath it, I'm going to be spraying over 3 different backgrounds. I've got the standard Tamiya red-brown primer. I've got some pure white, in this case Citadel Corax white, and I've got some NATO black, because a lot of modelers seem to like to use NATO black. It's not quite black, but it's almost black, and that seems to get used a lot as a kind of a primer, quote-unquote, on models. Now, in terms of the paints, I've got a whole bunch of paints here that, and I'll be honest, I've never used a lot of these before, so I've been researching how to thin them and airbrush them. But I've got pretty much every major brand here. Again, most of them I've never used. I'm pretty much a Tamiya guy traditionally. I've been using a bit of AK Real Color recently on some projects. And I almost never use water-based acrylics for airbrushing, because, you know, why bother fighting tip clog and having to spend money on flow improvers and stuff like that when, hey, you know, a bottle of Tamiya and some Mr. Leveling Thinner will put down a nice silky smooth coat. So those are the products that are going to be used, and the actual method. I've actually got 13 strips of styrene, and you can see each one has the NATO Black, the Corax White, and the Tamiya Red Brown primer on it. And I'm going to spray each of the 13 paints on a strip each, and then we'll do a direct comparison to both. I guess we'll do the outside and the inside, just in case there's any difference there. And I'm going to try to do it in a couple of different lighting conditions. I want to do it in direct sunlight, because again, this 7021 does take on a slightly different appearance depending on the lighting conditions. And then we'll do it under like a diffused natural light, like on a cloudy day or something. And I've just strapped all these onto a 2x4. You can see this is an official AK brand modeling 2x4. You could probably use you know, just a regular 2x4 from your garage, but of course this one's specially made for modelers, and should do the trick. So that's the teaser. We are going to over the next couple of days chip away at spraying all 13 of those strips, and you may have only counted, by the way, 12 bottles of paint. I grabbed the Mr. Color 513, which is actually called dunkelgrau. The old H40, it was just called German Gray, and I've got a bottle of that coming in the mail, so that should be here any day, and that'll make color number 13, and we'll see if there's any difference between those two. So this is Bruce, I'm a noob. Thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for part 2 and the actual test results. Bye.